What's up, Buck? Doug with D&E in the garage. I am currently coming to you from inside my 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee, where I have the key in the on position so that my seat warmer's on. So even though it's 28 degrees outside, nice and cozy in here. Now, it's almost December, which means I owe you guys some automotive news for the month of December this year of our Lord 2019. Today, we're going to recap some stories that have come to a conclusion from past months. We're going to talk about some good Ford news. We got some crazy stuff coming out of California. I was going to try to leave California alone this segment, but they just keep diving back into the automotive news. So let's do it. And of course, we're going to talk about the Cybertruck, and we're going to talk about the Mach-E. I know I'm late to the party on both of them, but how could I have a news segment with all that swirling and whirling and not dig into that? So first things first, UAW strike with GM is over. UAW, United Auto Workers, now pointing their sights at FCA. They're opening talks with FCA, and the word around the water cooler is that a strike could be imminent. Now the bigger story coming out of that is that GM is actually suing Fiat Chrysler Automotive, saying that FCA was manipulating the UAW during the GM strike. And I found this crazy interesting. So the assertion is that FCA was doing things or strong-arming the UAW to prolong the GM strike. It makes perfect sense. You know, the longer or the bigger hit that GM takes over the strike, the more market share that FCA potentially can steal from them. They're already beating the heck out of them. The new Rams are absolutely destroying the much embattled Chevy trucks. Now, speaking of GM and FCA, they both have pretty big recalls out right now. 700,000 Durangos and Grand Cherokees from, let me check my notes, 2011 to 2013 are being recalled because the fuel pump relay gives out and then you're just dead in the water. That's a huge bummer. Those are pretty new cars, so if you have one of those, look into it. In my opinion, the bigger recall story is GM's stop sale of the 2019 pickup trucks. I guess in an accident, the mechanism that locks the seatbelt can catch fire to things around it, which is obviously not something you want in a crash. So picture this, you're all dazed and confused, you just got in a little fender bender, and now you look down and your seat's on fire. Not great, GM. Not great at all. So if you have either of those two vehicles, I recommend you get that checked out with a doctor. Now for the thing that I've just been waiting to talk about. Fiat Chrysler's new turbo-powered inline 6 engine. I love the inline 6 motors. Inline 6 motors are cheaper to build, they're cheaper to maintain, they're better balanced engines. The only problem they have usually is space. It's hard to get 6 in a row when you could have offset 8 or 4 or whatever, or offset 6. But Fiat Chrysler is designing, well, it was leaked a year ago that they were working on this. Now patent records have come up that FCA filed for a patent for a number of things relating to turbo exhaust gas routing, but in the picture was an inline 6 in the diagrams they drew for the patent. So it's all but confirmed, and we are actually starting to get some numbers from this. They're calling it their e-boost amateur hour. They're calling it their e-boost. It's going to be based on a 3-liter inline 6, 2 different variants, a single turbo and a twin turbo. The single turbo could be pushing as high as 360 horsepower, with the twin turbo allegedly, just numbers that are getting tossed around, pushing over 500 horsepower. Now the crazy thing about this is that it appears like this 3-liter turbo option is going to come in and replace the 5.7 Hemi. That's what they're saying. That's what everybody is suggesting. So that's pretty crazy. You know me, no replacement for displacement, so I'm a little torn here. I love straight 6s, but I love big displacement. Either way it ends up going, just the fact that technology has gotten to the point where it's viable for a 3-liter 6 to replace a turbo 3-liter 6 to do the work that a 5.7-liter Hemi V8 was doing. That's pretty crazy. Very interested. This is obviously going to be an option on Ram trucks, certainly Jeep and Dodge SUVs. The new Grand Cherokee, the new Wagoneer, and the new Grand Wagoneer will likely get these engines. Now, since we mentioned, I promise all this news is not FCA and Jeep. We're just going to get that out of the way in the beginning. Speaking of the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer, we have new news on that, and it's looking like both the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. I need coffee. I'm sorry. I tell you. I got all drunk on smoked pulled chicken and what did the wife make? Stuffed mushrooms. She makes killer stuffed mushrooms, but I ate way too many of them yesterday. And I'm still recovering. So, what was I saying? Oh, it looks like both the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer, Jesus, are going to be built. And they're going to have a Tahoe Suburban type relationship, which I think is awesome. They're both looking like they're going to be full-frame SUVs on the Dodge, the Ram 1500 platform. So they're trucks. For the first time since the Wagoneer went away, Jeep is going to have a full-frame family SUV. The Wrangler, I'm not really counting that as that. You know what I mean. A true family, do-all, go-all SUV, not a purpose-built thing like the Wrangler. Let's talk about California. We talked about in recent months how President Trump said, hey, California, you can't have your own emission standard. The federal one is the only one you get. For those that don't know, I'm sure everybody knows, California has the California Air Resource Board, or C.a.r.b. regulations. It's a different level of emission standard. So if you buy a vehicle, it either has federal emissions, which, you know, reach this level of emissions efficiency, or you reach California compliant and it's a little bit higher. If you've ever had to buy a catalytic converter or exhaust system, or I think even EGR parts for your vehicle, likely when you went on Rock Auto, there were two options, the c.a.r.b. compliant and the federally compliant. California's is a little stricter. Some other states follow that. I think New York is one of them. I think Arizona also has really strict emission standards. President Trump said, screw that, can't be done. I'm very torn on that. From a political standpoint, states' rights and limiting federal government, but everybody hates the friggin' California emissions. It's a nightmare, and it ruins vehicles. California emissions is why there was no 1984 Corvette. I might have had that year wrong. I mentioned it in the last one. Anyway, so now a bunch of automakers are coming out on one side or the other. GM, Chrysler, Toyota, and Nissan came out on President Trump's side. They say, screw that. We want to make one type of vehicle for the United States. We don't have to make two different ones. It's better for automakers to have one set of regulations. And California said, oh yeah? We're not going to buy any more of your vehicles. Meaning the state government, no state money will be spent on GM products, Chrysler products, Toyota products, or Nissan products. That business will go to Honda, Ford, one other one came out in favor of them, but the big two that are going to be the recipients of this are Honda and Ford. Now, here's the interesting thing. Two vehicles they were buying a lot of, Toyota Prius and Chevy Bolts, all right? Plug-in electric vehicles. Ford does not have one of those that could replace those. So in an effort to make a point about their stricter emissions, they're going to buy less efficient vehicles. Let that sink in. So whatever, man. You all know how I feel about California. California people, I love you. Our viewers from California, you're awesome. I'm sorry I have to rag on your state all the time, but somebody needs to sit them down and just wake up. Stop. Anyway, all right, let's use that as a segue into this next story. It's an article I read of an interview with one of Toyota's, I guess he was a top business developer, and what they were asking him was, hey, what do you see being the next thing for plug-in electric vehicles, full EVs? And he basically said, yeah, we're going to keep going with it, but the demand isn't there. What they have found is that everybody who wants a plug-in electric pretty much has one, and they're not really making any headway with switching over the mass public with them. And their opinion was that we're pretty darn ways away from a majority, or even close to a majority, of the public owning an EV, an electric vehicle. I found that very interesting because Toyota, of all people, I mean, they were at the forefront with the Prius. So for them to say, it's not really doing anything for us, we're going to keep going with it, obviously. And obviously there are plenty of people that want electric vehicles, but what he was saying was they're not getting to the guys like me, and I suspect you, out where I live in rural New Jersey. I don't know, maybe able to plug in electric. where am I going to plug it in? You know what I mean? I can't afford to get the hookup in the house and all that garbage. So maybe in the cities and everything. I found that very interesting. Let's talk more about EVs. Let's talk about the Mustang Mach-E. So Ford released a Mustang called the Mach-E. It is a very small crossover SUV, 4 doors. Let me check the notes here. 0 to 60, 3.5 seconds. 459 horsepower. 612 pound-feet of torque. I'm a torque junkie, and that is awesome. With a 235-mile range. Now, I actually saw a video of Ken Block. It was definitely like a highly contrived advertisement for the Mach-E, but it was still kind of cool because he took it out on the track, and it's got some beans, man. It's got some beans. Like, he was really putting his foot into it. They wouldn't let him, if the dialogue can be believed to be organic, they wouldn't let him do everything he wanted with it, but the whole point of the video was that it could do more, but he couldn't because it was not a production vehicle yet. Go Google Mach-E Ken Block. It's like 11 minutes long, and the last 4 minutes is him driving the thing. It's got some interesting stuff. I don't know why everything has to be a cooler now. Those Ram boxes on the Avalanche, everybody tells me are a cooler. The front trunk in this thing is a cooler. It's all plastic. It's got a drain plug. I guess, whatever, it's a cooler. Now let's talk about what the Mustang Mach-E is not. It's not a Mustang. Stop doing this. I hate when automakers whore out a successful, beloved nameplate to a vehicle that has nothing to do with this. The Dodge Charger. Not a Charger. The original Charger was a two-door muscle car. Yes, it's a fast muscle car now, but putting it on a four-door platform when it never was that, not the same thing. The new Chevy Blazer. This is egregious. They took a full-frame beast of a truck and slapped it on this wimpy, impotent little crossover SUV. This is not a Mustang. No, never has the Mustang ever been a four-door SUV. You just can't do that. You just... I get why automakers do it, because if you call it the Ford whatever, the Ford, I don't know, Panther, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're starting from scratch, and now the vehicle has to, it's got to win everything on its own merit. Whereas by calling it a Mustang, you immediately have some level of cred and interest. Certainly, I wouldn't be talking about it. If it was just called the Ford Panther, the Ford Mach-E Panther, their new electric four-door crossover SUV, I'd be like, all right, cool, whatever. I don't really care about that. My viewers wouldn't either. But you called it the Mustang, so here we are talking about it. I hate that you win, but stop doing that. So yes, it's a cool little fully electric crossover SUV. It seems like it's got some power. They succeeded by calling it the Mustang. Here we are talking about it, but know that I hate you when you do that. Ford and Chevy and Dodge and everybody, really, everybody does it, and it's so insulting to us as car people. You take the Mustang nameplate and you just slap it on a four-door electric vehicle that has nothing to do with it. Next on the docket, let's talk about the Cybertruck. I know I'm a little late to this party, but we're going to talk about it anyway. First, let's talk about the unveil. Everybody knows by now it had a crazy, hilarious unveil where they tried to prove how bulletproof the glass was by winging a bearing at it, and it shattered. And then to prove that that was a fluke, they wung a bearing at the other window, and that shattered too. So in the words of Elon Musk, I guess there's always room for improvement. Maybe just deliver what you promised. And then let's talk about the styling. Does this truck look like an Aztec humped a DeLorean? Yes. Yes, it does. Is it absolutely ridiculous and polarizing? Yes. Do I think that was the point? Absolutely. Of course that was the point. He's Elon Musk, man. He intentionally made this vehicle look as crazy and insane as possible, knowing that it would get people talking about it. It's the only thing anyone's talked about. The only thing. On Instagram, it's the only thing. On YouTube, it's the only thing. In the news, it's the only thing. At Thanksgiving, it was the only thing we could talk about. Everybody's just talking about the Cybertruck. That's exactly what Elon Musk wanted. Do I think the production vehicle will be as extreme? I don't know. I would not be surprised if when we actually get the Cybertruck, it's not way toned down. Now, it does have some very impressive stats. The 3-motor version, the top tier, has a 14,000 pound towing capacity. Those are real truck numbers. That's not nominal towing capacity. That is, you're doing something. Congratulations. Now, you gotta ask the question, are people gonna make like 5th wheel conversions for the Cybertruck? And I'm gonna use that as a segue into my overall thought after marinating and living with the Cybertruck for almost 2 weeks now. I think it misses the mark. I think it misses the mark in a big way. Who's gonna buy the Cybertruck? Not people who own pickup trucks today. Maybe like a couple guys who owned like Honda Ridgelines, but that's a Honda Ridgeline. In reality, the people who are going to buy the Cybertruck are people who otherwise would have bought a Tesla vehicle. And so I don't know what the point of a pickup truck is. No contractors are going to be showing up at the job site in a friggin' Tesla Cybertruck. I don't see people like, what are we gonna off-road the Cybertruck? Like, I just don't see that as being a thing. You imagine being stuck in the middle of the Rubicon Trail in a Cybertruck waiting for somebody to drag a generator out because thing went dead. I don't think the type of people who buy pickup trucks are going to be the type of people that buy Cybertrucks. So all you're going to do is steal people away that were already going to buy a Tesla. Now, I'm not suggesting I'm smarter than Elon Musk. Like, clearly he thought about this, but I've really tried to come up in my head, like, who buys this thing? Who buys it? You know, certainly I'm not going to buy it, but you already know where I stand on it. I'd like to know what you guys think about the Cybertruck. I know the styling is intense and polarizing. I think that was the point. For some reason, electric vehicles can't just look friggin' normal. Just act normal. They have to look crazy and futuristic. And I think more people would like them if at least a couple of them just looked like normal friggin' cars, but they can't. They always have to have weird taillights or something. My closing thought here is, and I want to go back to the Toyota comment about how EVs are just, there's no real demand for them. And it goes with the Mach-E and it goes with the Tesla truck. I feel like we're getting this stuff crammed down our throat, and we're starting to question, is it okay to not be into electric vehicles? It's like if you just, when I was reading the comments about the Tesla truck, nobody would just come out and say, I have no interest in this. I don't give a damn about electric trucks. This is stupid. Everybody has to go, well, it's not for me, but I guess I get why. Why can't you just come out and say, I don't give a damn about electric trucks? Here's how I feel about electric vehicles in general. To me, electric vehicles are other dudes. No matter what anybody says, I'm never going to be into other dudes. I don't care if you're into other dudes. Doesn't really matter to me. Whether or not you're into other dudes does not affect me at all, but I am never going to be into other dudes. I don't really want to have a conversation where I have to pretend like I'm into other dudes. I already have a love. It's a dirty girl who drinks too much and her name is internal combustion. And that's just never going to change for me. And I think a lot of the country feels that way, and that's why Toyota is saying what they're saying. And there's not really any interest. Everybody who has an electric vehicle or wants an electric vehicle already has one. Tesla truck, who's going to buy this friggin' thing? Yes, they're going to sell a ton of them, but the people who are buying them were going to buy a Tesla anyway, is my feeling on it. I'd like to know what you guys think about the not Mustang, the Tesla Cybertruck, and anything else. And where do you guys fall on the California issue? As a car guy, I want to side with the federal government, but as me, I will never side with the federal government. And I suspect a lot of you guys probably feel the same way. Got to keep politics off the channel, but read between the lines there, and I think you'll figure out what I'm getting at. That's about all for today's news. Hope everybody had a happy, healthy, and enjoyable holiday season. Thanksgiving. I know I certainly did. All right, now I've wasted enough time sitting in a very toasty seat. I need to go blow some leaves and work on an Avalanche and this Grand Cherokee so I can get some more videos out for you guys. So leave us a comment down there in the squawk box if you liked the video. By all means, like the video, sub to the channel. Consider checking us out on Etsy, Patreon, and Teespring. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.